Okay. 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 So again, okay, the first slide, okay, and the course information as I introduced myself just now. Okay. This is the aim. Okay. So I go straight to the PEO, Program Educational Objectives. Okay. Our PEO for these subjects involved in a software system application development using the best strategy and latest technology to fulfill work specification. Also lead in software or system or application production, service delivery and management. And the last, PEO, contribute to community and nation. So our program learning outcomes, PLO, okay, the PLO one, we have PLO one, cluster knowledge and understanding. Okay, PLO two, we have cluster cognitive skills. PLO three, cluster functional work practical skills. PLO 4, cluster functional work interpersonal skills. Cluster 5, functional work communication skills. PLO 6, cluster functional work digital skills. PLO 7, cluster functional work numeracy skills. PLO 8, cluster functional work leadership, autonomy and responsibility. PLO 9, cluster personal skills. PLO 10, cluster entrepreneurial skills. PLO 11, ethics and professionalism. Of course, learning outcomes for this subject, design solutions using object-oriented programming. So learning outcome, learning delivery 3, PLO 2 and C4. Okay, and build computer applications using OOP, okay, LOD 5, PLO 3 and P3. Okay, and lastly, implement object-oriented concept using high-level language, LOD 13, PLO 9, A3. Okay. So the course content for this introduction to OOP, primitive data type and operator, fundamental of object-oriented programming, object and class, inheritance and polymorphism. Okay. So this is a course assessment for this subject. We have quiz, one quiz, okay, 5% assignment. Usually assignment, this part of assignment is conducted or carried out throughout the lab, okay, your lab, okay. So make sure you submit on time, submit all the lab sheet, lab assignment, okay. The assignment that Puan Suryawati asked you to do, so please submit, okay. And we have a test, 15%, which we will conduct together with other sections, okay. Okay, most probably before week 7, okay. For this semester, we don't have semester break, okay. We usually we have a semester break, but now we up until 14 weeks. Says 14 until January, I think, okay. And the project is 20%, okay. And final examination is 40%, okay. Total is 100%. So this is the recommended textbooks. The first textbook here is available at library if you physically at UTHM. But you also have the other two is reference, the current reference, they're available online. Wait, I will give you link. I will give you a link with okay. Where is the PDF drive.com pdfdrive.com where you can download online materials for not for this subject only but other subject as well. Okay. So I wrote the www.pdfdrive.com in a chat. Okay, chat box. Okay, so this is the class introduction. Just to intro myself, intro this subject, and explain the PO, okay, and explain the PLO, okay, and also the CLOs. Okay. Okay. I also put our rancangan pelajaran in author. Okay. Okay. Okay, here I already uploaded the RPP. You can open and browse through our rancangan pelajaran for this subject. And also if you cannot come to our class, you need to inform me with explanation, with proof. Okay, if you seek, please provide me with the proof of the clinic clinic receipt or clinic appointment. Okay, if also if you want to get second dose in injection virus for the COVID, those who still haven't get the second dose, you can inform me and show me the um, the appointment. Okay, because I need those those proof. Okay, because the management asked for the audit purpose. Okay. Okay, we have also here. I will converse in English. Okay, because we have two. I think your friends international, which is Ahmad Amin, Ahmed Al Nahari, and also Rabi'i, Gamdan, Abdul Hamid Adi Al Ubaishi. Okay. So you are all under Nasihat Academic of Encik Muhammad Fakri. Who else? Dr. Nurul Hidayah. And also, who else? Besides Encik Fakri. Dr. Nohaniza. Okay. because most of you are from multimedia department, right? Okay, and your lecturer instructor for labs also your lecturer from multimedia department. Okay, so this is the author for you need to access, okay, to get all the materials for our subject. Okay, finish for the introduction part. Okay, for today I will go to the introduction to OOP. And next week we will go to the introduction to Java. Okay. So can we stop for a while, about 5 minutes?
Can.
Okay. Okay, thank you. 5 minutes. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm back again. Okay, finish 5 minutes. That's it. Okay, jangan tak takut First pertemuan, saya pun tak pernah nampak semua orang sebelum ni. So, saya okey je. Mungkin nampak muka garang tapi saya okey je. Okay. Sebelum ni I will mix okay, bahasa Melayu and bahasa Inggeris, okay, but through slides I will explain in English lah, okay. Okay, if you see me, okay, you can say hi, okay. I will not ask you to open your camera lah, but if I request you to open your camera, please do so, okay. So I understand some of you maybe have a bad internet. If you cannot attend to my class due to the bad weather, bad internet coverage, okay, please also tell me, okay. Maybe some of you in remote area, or when you have, like I also have problem with my daughter's laptop cannot touch saya cakap dia tak boleh gerak banyak sangat laptop. Kalau kita tergerak je, it will disconnected to the dia akan tertutup, off, dan terkeluar. So Gmail dia akan kena masuk balik. So it will stress to the her teachers as well. So saya faham lah, if benda tu berlaku, please tell me, okay. Jangan diam je, okay. Okay, next slide is sharing you the slide. Okay, so this is the learning outcome. At the end of this chapter, you should be able to understand the differences between procedural programming and object-oriented programming. Understand the terminologies in OOP, and then lastly, know the advantages of OOP. Okay, let's begin. History of OOP. Where's my... Okay. Tak nampak dekat bawah tu. Okay. So there are two common programming methods in practice today. One is procedural and one is OOP. Okay. So procedural and OOP. Okay. So far we have been creating procedural programs. The one that you have learned during your first semester, during your second semester, that one is procedural, is C. Okay. So before this, you are learning C, right? Okay. C categorized under procedural programming, whereas what you learn in today or this semester is using Java, that is categorized under OOP. Okay. There are other several programming language that in OOP, Java, C++ for OOP, Python or Python. I'm sure you will hear about this name before. And also PHP that you will learn in next semester, if I'm not mistaken. Also in OOP. For procedural, let's see. Okay. And also some others. Okay. So these are least OOP languages. Whereas C, we have Fortran. Sorry about the COBOL. After this, if you want to find a job as a programmer or as a software engineer, most of the time you will focus on OOP languages. Okay. Okay, this one. Very famous. Okay. It's a very rare situation that you need to skill nowadays in a C, Fortran or COBOL. Okay, most jobs nowadays requires you to have efficiency in these languages. Okay, Java, C++, Python, PHP, JSP, JavaScript, that all are OOP language. In a procedural program, data is typically stored in a collection of variables, and there is a set of functions that performs on the data. The data and the functions are separate entities. Okay. Usually, the variables are passed to the functions. Okay. That perform the desired operations. As you might imagine, the focus of procedural programming is creating okay, the functions or procedures, functions and procedures is the same thing. We might call it as function and we might call it as procedures that operate on the program data. Okay, I will show you the example. Oh, dia terkeluar terus, sorry. Okay. Okay, so this is I open and program is, okay. Let's say this is a C program, right? Okay, that you learn in previous semesters, okay. Before this, I think you are all of you familiar with the C programming. Let's say we want to create a program to calculate the average of two numbers. Okay, I comment it first. So I create it as int int a equal to 2. Okay, int b equal to 5. Okay, I want to calculate the average of two numbers. Okay, so int a equal to 2, int b equal to 5. Okay, so I want to calculate the average. Normally we have to use a function. So
Madam,
yes.
Madam,
do you share the screen?
Oh, okay. Sorry.
It's okay, madam.
Okay, sorry. Which one? Okay. Just now I show you this. Can you see now?
Yes, madam.
Allah, sorry. Setelah first. Okay. Baik. Kau tak dah habis. Senyap je. Bagus budak multimedia ni. Okay, tadi dah I want to show you the C programming first, okay, so that you might have refresh your memories about the programming, okay, because we want to show the difference between procedural and OOP language, okay. So here I already declare the int A equal to 2, int B equal to 5, okay. Okay, so I want to calculate the average of two numbers. So in C, we have to put the function. Okay. Boleh ada. Okay, so int average int A, int A, int B. Okay. Okay, I hope you still remember this. Okay. Okay, because see, okay, we will still using function although in Java. That's what I mentioned earlier. The second and the third chapter, I will explain the first and second chapter. That the explanation is the one that you already familiar. Okay. The main different things is only about the syntax. Okay. So you have the function to calculate the average. So what is the formula to calculate the average? Okay. So int average equal to A plus B divided by 2. Okay. Return AVG. Okay. Then you need to call this function. Okay. You need to call the function printf. Percent. Apa sepatutnya ada kat dalam ni? Ingat lagi? Percent you have to percent D. Okay. Why you have to percent D? We want to call the integers here. Then we call the function. The name of the function is average. Then you provide the values. We pass the value to the average, which is 2, 5. Okay. So 1, 2. So this is how the procedural programming works. Okay. This one, can you see my slide? Boleh tak tengok slide yang ni pula?
Boleh.
Oh, okay. So tadi slide, that one is a programming. So this one is example of the procedural programming. Okay. Okay. So data is typically stored in a collection of variables. So this is our variables. int A, int B is variables. Okay. Okay, there is a set of functions. Okay, so this is functions. Okay, so this is functions. Okay. Okay, so and set of functions that perform operations on the data. Okay. So okay, the operation is to calculate the average. Okay. A plus B divided by 2. Okay. So usually Usually the variable are passed to the functions. Okay. Here, these variables are passed to this function. Okay. Okay. That perform the desired operation. What operation? This operation. Okay. To calculate. Okay. So, as you might imagine, the focus of the procedural programming is on creating the function or procedures that operate on the program's data. Okay. So in C, we focus on the creating the functions. Okay. We are more focused on the functions. Although during on the early stage of your lesson, you might put this inside the INT main, right? But as long as you go through chapter by chapter, you learn what is method or what is function. Then you need to separate this. You need to separate the function and procedures. So because you separate this from this main section. Okay. So this is the proper way to code. Okay. Okay, so this is a more professional way. We separate separate the variables, separate the functions, okay, from the main function. Okay. The parenthesis, okay, outside the parenthesis. Ni parenthesis kan? Parenthesis. Okay. Okay, so most of the procedural programming, okay, in procedural programming, most of the time we focusing on creating functions. In this case, we only have one function because this is a simple program to calculate the average. Okay. Wait for a while. Wait for a while. I need to accept your friends. Okay, continue. Procedural programming has worked well for software developers for many years. Okay, however, as programs become larger, okay, and more complex, the separation of programs data and the code that operates on the data can lead to problems. Okay. Okay. This is a simple of program. How if, okay, there's a big program that has many variables, that has plenty of functions, okay, it will cause and lead to problems here. Okay, so what are the problems? Okay, continue. For example, the data in the procedural programs is stored in variables, okay, as well as in more complex structures that are created from variables. The procedures, functions that operate on the data must be designed with those variables and data structures in mind. Okay. But what happens if the format of data is altered? Quite often, a program specification change resulting in redesign the data structures. Okay. So I show you the example. Okay. Okay, now we have function to calculate the average, okay, of two numbers. How about if you want to calculate average of three numbers? Okay, so most probably you need to modify this code, right? meaning that you will have add more input variables, which means INTC. So it will lead to involves a lot of modifications. Okay. But for this, you can see that it is still you still can handle it. Okay. Okay. It's just input modification, small modification. But if it involves the code that many functions involve multiple lines, it involves hundreds of lines, and then involve hundreds of modification for the operations. So you need to look all the modifications in each line of the code. Okay, yeah. So it will become a tedious way of tedious work lah. Okay, to modify the program and to inspect line by line. Okay, in order to know which of the variables or functions that we need to modify. Okay. Oh, okay. This one is A and B, not 2 and 5. A and B. So in C, if you want to add same 7, so A, B. So we want to modify the modification at line C, line 16, okay, and line 18 plus C, okay. So every line, okay, here for the modification, okay, and then average three numbers. Okay, the drawback is your code, it will become more longer. Okay, so OOP will solve these issues. Okay, code jadi panjang, okay, longer. Okay. Okay, so you already get the idea why you need to learn OOP. Okay, so previous semesters you learn C. Okay, why you need to switch from procedural to OOP. Okay, so when the structure of data change, the code that operates on the data must also be changed to accept the new format. Okay. Okay, so means the function, okay, the code that operates on the data must also change. Finding all the code that needs changing result in additional work for programmers and opportunity for bugs to be introduced into the code. As I mentioned, it's a tedious work, okay, for the programmers. Okay. You need to inspect line by line. Okay, which one that need to modify here just now, line 9, line 10, line 16. Okay. So kena check satu-satu kan. Okay. Most probably you will also contribute bugs or error into your code. Okay. Okay. So this has helped influence the shift from procedural programming to object-oriented programming. Whereas procedural programming is centered on creating procedures, as I mentioned before, okay. procedures and functions are the same, okay, same term, same name. Okay. OOP is centered on creating objects. Okay. Okay. In OOP, we still create functions, but that is not our focus. Okay, the first priority in OOP, we need to define the object first. Okay, an object is a software entity that combines both data and procedures in a single unit. So you can imagine in procedural, okay, in procedural like this, we separate the data, okay, variables of data, we separate it, okay, but in OOP we combine, okay, these variables and functions, we combine it in one place, okay. I will show you later, okay. So an object data items, also referred to as its attributes are stored in member variables. The procedures that an object performs are called its member functions. This bundling of an object's data and procedures together is called encapsulation. So the concept of combining, okay, combining the data, okay, combining the data, okay, this one, and combining the procedures together, data and the procedures is encapsulation. Okay, bundling it together is called encapsulation. So whenever the data is bundled or combined with procedures, we call it as member variables, data member variables or member functions. Okay, this is just a term, okay. Let's say we have case study of an ATM machine. In procedural, when you write a program, you will write the functions, okay. We have a withdraw function, we have deposit function, we have transfer functions. Whereas when we focus in OOP, when you are writing OOP, okay, for case of ATM machine, in your code, most probably you will find what are the object first. In ATM case, okay, in ATM case study, okay, there are 3 objects that involve. Ada is your friend masuk. Sorry for not auto admit first, okay. Okay. So dia terganggu sikit, ada orang masuk. Okay, in case study here, there are 3 objects that involve, okay. Whenever we say objects, okay, objects can be referred to living or non-living, okay, objects. The keyword of object can be living or non-living. In this case, for ATM case study, for case of ATM machine, in your code, most probably you will find what are the object first. So in ATM case, ATM case study, there are 3 objects that are involved. Okay, whenever we say about the objects, objects can be referred to living. Okay, tadi. Okay, object, living and non-living. This one object oriented. Okay. Object can be the person itself or the customer, or can be the ATM machine. It can be the money, and it can also be the account. Okay. Okay. Those are the combination of living and non-living object. So itu yang dimaksudkan, okay, of object oriented. Okay. Customer, money and account for the OOP object. Okay. So this one is called as the structure. Okay. So in procedural, if you write it in C here, the procedural structure here in this picture, if you write in C, the data mostly in outside the int main, you write the functions. Okay. So withdraw function, deposit function, transfer function. Whereas in the OOP, we combine data and the functions together, okay, as objects. Okay. So this is object for customers, this is object for money, this is object for account number. Okay. So okay, understood? Boleh faham? So far?
Boleh, madam.
Yeah.
Okay, boleh nampak kan perbezaan antara procedural dengan OOP? Okay. Okay, alhamdulillah, good. Okay, figure 1 shows a representation of a circle object. Okay. Okay, let's say you need to write a program to calculate the area of a circle. Okay. This is how your OOP, the structure of the OOP looks like. As I mentioned before, the OOP we combine the data, the variables data with the functions of the procedures together, okay, to form a class or object. Okay. Okay, so it has just one member variable, okay, to hold data and two member functions, which is radius. The circle object data is radius, okay. And in second, okay. So we have, so if you have here in this object, you have two functions, okay. One is set radius and one is get area. Okay, ada dua kat sini. So, okay, if you notice here, the syntax is quite similar with C. Ingat kan? Sama kan lebih kurang. There is not so much different. Okay, it's how you create a function in C and Java. Nothing much different. It has one variable. Okay. So we have a circle. Okay. And this is the radius. Dan nak lukis. Okay. So this is radius. So we want to calculate. Okay. Okay. From here to the center point. Okay, to the center point to the line of the circle. This is a radius. Then we can set the radius through the function name set radius. Okay. And the second functions, it calculates the get area. Okay, to calculate the area, okay, of this circle. Okay, provided of the value of the radius. So return 3.14 times power radius 2. Okay, formula dia lah. Okay, so we have the value of radius. So if you can see here the data and okay, the data and the functions here is bundled together. Okay, ini yang dikatakan dibundlekan tu. Okay, okay. The member variable and the member functions are all members of the circle object. They are bound together in a single unit. Okay, when an operation is to be performed, such as calculating the area of the circle, a message is passed to the object telling it to perform the get area function. Why? Because get area is a member of circle object. It automatically has access to the object's member variables. Therefore, there is no need to pass radius to the get area function. So this is where this is slightly different with procedural and OOP. Okay. Okay, let's say you want to write this into C programming. Normally what you need to do is you need to have something, you need to pass the variable over here. Okay. Okay. Yang tadi saya tunjukkan programming. Okay. Okay. So that one, this one. Boleh tengok balik tak yang programming? Can you see this?
Boleh, madam.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so this one you need to pass the variable into the functions, okay? Okay, so inside the around this bracket. But in OP, we don't need to write in that way. So we just write this function, okay, and without any input variables over here. Okay. Okay, if you can see here, there is nothing kan input variable dekat dalam bracket tu. There is no variable being passed. Betul? Okay. Why? Because this get area function has access to the radius variables. Okay, as compared to C, in C, okay, look at this function, int A, int B, int C. I wrote this down. Why? Because this function average doesn't have any direct function to int A, int B, int C. You understand what I mean? Why? Because it is outside the main. Sebab dia di luar daripada main. It's outside of the bracket of the main. Okay. So it doesn't have direct access to A, B, and C. So okay. So this in C, in procedural. So I have to create another input variables for this function. Okay. Whereas in OOP, I do not need to write out the, we call as input variables. Why? Because get area is bundled together with the radius. Bundled together with the radius, combined together with the radius, that it has a direct access with in this. Okay, there is the difference in OOP and procedural in programming part. Okay. Okay. Okay, saya repeat Okay. Terangkan dalam bahasa Melayu ke bahasa Inggeris? Saya terangkan dalam bahasa Melayu lah. Okay, dalam C, okay, I repeat in bahasa Melayu. Okay, ni saya delete dulu lah. Okay, kita ada function average, okay. Dalam function average, kita ada three input variables, input A, B, and C. So kenapa saya buat macam ni? A, B, C ni akan diguna untuk calculate dia punya average ni. A tambah B tambah C. Okay, bahagi 2. Okay. So C kita buang dulu lah. Kita bagi A dan B ni diperlukan untuk kita bahagikan dua ni nanti untuk kita calculate the average. Okay. Okay. So setakat. Okay. Setakat ni faham? Yang ni. Okay. 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 Sekarang ni. Okay. Sini pun buang. Okay. Okay, kita namakan lain lah. This number one. Okay. Okay, dia mesti number berlainan Okay. Okay. So number one. Number two. Okay. Number one, number two. Okay. So dalam main ni saya panggil function average. Dalam main ni saya panggil function average kat sini. Untuk dia keluarkan output. Okay. Kat function average ni saya pass nilai 2 dan nilai 5. Saya passkan dalam dalam function ni. Okay. Dalam nilai A dalam nilai 2 dalam A dan nilai 5 dalam B. So bila saya panggil average ni, okay, A ni akan pass to number 1. So nilai A dengan number 1 ni akan jadi sama lah. Okay. Okay. Number 1 pun jadi 2. A 2. Nama variable lain tapi nilainya adalah sama. Okay. B nilainya adalah 5. Okay, number 2 dia akan pegang nilai 5. Okay. So kat sini jangan confuse nama lain. Name is different but dia pegang, it holds the same value. Okay. Okay. So tadi saya mention dalam C, dalam procedural average function dengan variables dia tak ada direct access. Kita tak boleh directly access. Okay. Sebab itu saya kena buat dalam kurungan ni input variables. Sebab tu supaya saya boleh pass value 2 ni dekat sini, value 5 ni dekat sini. Kenapa saya kata dia tak boleh direct access? Sebab dia di luar main. Okay, int average ni dia berasingan. Dia di luar main. Dia berasingan daripada variables ni. Okay. Sebab tu kita kena ada input variables dekat sini. Untuk menghubungkan apa saja value yang kita letak dekat dalam main ni, kita boleh pass dekat sini. Okay. Kalau katakan saya tak buat, imagine kita tak buat. Okay. Kalau macam Java tadi, saya biarkan kosong. Okay. Okay, macam mana function average tu nak calculate? Okay, nak calculate nombor 2 dengan 5 ni. Okay, sebab dia tak nak bagi dia apa? Dia kosong, tak ada. Okay, faham Clear tak? Clear tak?
Clear, madam.
Okay, sebab tu saya letak tadi. Okay, bagus. Sekejap. Average. Okay, sebab tu kena ada input variables kat sini. So dia boleh pass kat sini. Kalau macam Java tadi, dia tak ada. Okay, macam Java tadi, okay, get area ni, dia tak perlu ada. Okay, dia tak perlu pass. Okay, variable. Kan kat dalam ni. Okay. Sebab apa? Sebab radius ni dia bundle. Okay. Sebab tu get area ni tak perlukan apa-apa input variable sebab dia boleh access pun kepada radius. Radius ni dia boleh variable radius tu dia boleh access directly. Okay. compact tu dalam C tadi. Okay, saya kena declare A dengan saya kena declare input variable dia sebab tu saya kena declare lah kat sini A dengan B ni. Okay. Okay. Kalau dalam C dia kena letak luar main. Okay. Okay, kalau dalam OOP dia ibarat function ni duduk di dalam main. Okay. Okay. So itu je lah konsep OOP. Sebab tu lah OOP dicipta untuk memudahkan. Okay, let's say the calculation has been changed. Okay, katakan we want to calculate the area of circle that is not this is not this formula, is not this equation anymore. So we no need to alter or modify this inside this one. Okay, we just modify the equation. So it is less our work will be less to inspect line by line because we just focus the equation part. Okay. Kalau dekat C tadi, okay, kita kena modify. Just now I show you I want to change the average tree, so kena change a few parts kan. So kalau dekat OOP we have to modify kat beberapa, only a few place, okay, not all. Okay. Okay, so this is just summary of procedural versus OOP. So OOP based on the concept of objects which contains attributes and methods, okay, while for procedural based upon the concept of procedural calls. Okay. Divide the program into multiple objects. Okay. So kalau dalam OOP we have multiple objects. Okay. Like this one, we have multiple objects. We have customer, we have money, we have account, okay? We have multiple objects, okay? Whereas in procedural, we have multiple functions, okay? Okay. We have withdraw, deposit and transfer. Modification is easier as object is independent. Modification are difficult as they can affect the entire program. Objects communicate with each other by passing message. Okay. Functions communicate with each other by passing parameters. Okay. So we need to pass parameter over here. Okay. Okay. Each object controls its own data. Why I say so? Because it has own data. Okay. In C is very independent. Okay. Independent from the function. Maksudnya dia tak berhubung kait. Okay. Okay, satu sama lain. Kalau kat dalam OOP dia berkait, okay, yang ni dia berkait, bermakna radius ni is solely for the circle. Radius ni memang eksklusif untuk circle, okay. For procedural, macam A dengan B ni boleh jadi untuk pelbagai function. Dia boleh kira, it can use in function average, it can use in function addition, okay. Okay, so in OOP is exclusively for a certain object. Okay, radius ni bukan boleh sebarang-sebarang untuk katakan kita ada objek lain. Katakan kita ada objek for example triangle. Triangle kita nak guna variable radius ni, tak boleh. Okay, it's dependent on that particular variable object ni, circle. Kalau kat C is dia boleh digunakan dalam apa-apa function pun. Kalau kat dalam C lah, okay, dia boleh digunakan di banyak-banyak function yang ada kat bawah. Okay. Then possible to hide data. It will go chapter by chapter. No data hiding mechanism. We will go to and explain to this further, and also we have to learn this has access specifier. Nanti kita akan belajar lagi. Okay, supported by C++, Java, Python. This one C, Pascal, Fortran. Okay. Okay, this is another example of procedural versus OP. So the left one is a procedural. Okay. If you ask the user to enter number 1, then user key in number 1, and then it will pops up number 2. User key in number 2, then what it does after that is will perform the addition, okay, addition operation in this function. And then on the right side is the translation from procedural to OP. So this is the same program, the same calculation, but it's written in OOP. It's okay. Okay, programming there is a bit lengthy. Programming agak panjang, but trust me, it will have more advantages as compared to procedural. Memang nampak lebih panjang yang Java. Okay, what is available advantages? For example, in C, right, you have we have mana pen? Okay. We have add function. Okay, let's say another program, numbers. Okay, numbers2.c, for example. I get another program. Okay, and then some of the operations. Okay. Okay, saya nak ada operasi penambahan dalam num operation. I want to use this function. In procedural, cannot. Okay, I need to copy this function, and I need to write it from scratch. Okay, so to additional operation, I need to copy here or add to here. But for Java, if you notice this, you have a similar function, which is the get addition. The name of the function is get addition. Okay, number 1 plus number 2. Okay, let's say I create another file. Code in Java num2 .java. Inside the Java, I need to add additional operation. As compared to the procedural, I just call the function outside of the this get addition is outside of the Java. So I create another file, number2.java. I want to use this function, can. Okay, just this is another program, but I can call this function. Okay, so I don't need to copy paste the whole thing, okay, into this program. In Java, most probably this code, when you translate into Java, most probably we have 2 files. Okay. So we also can write in single file, but in this example, I separate it. This is numbers.java, main.java. This is the reason why I separate this. One of the reason because I want it to be reused, so that you can see the reuse of different files boleh digunakan semula. Okay, maknanya kita tak perlu gunakan the same code all over again. Okay, so we have main.java. Dalam main Java, dalam inside main Java ni, I call the get addition. So this is what I meant for. Inside the main Java, I call the get addition. Get addition. Get addition is referring to this function. I call it from another file. This is main. This is other file. Okay, this is separate. Okay, actually we can combine this together. Okay, but I choose to separate it. Okay, because of this reason. Okay. Okay, understand? Boleh faham? The translation between procedural and OOP. Nampak kan? Nampak kan kat sini perbezaan dia? If you notice, most of the syntax are quite the same, except for some of them lah. For example, import. Okay, you haven't seen this before. Import. Okay, class, private. What else? Yang new. So these are the new set of syntax that you will see from time to time as you learn, as you go through this chapter. You will see this one. OOP terminology class. Okay. Okay. How many slides more? Okay. Okay, can I have another break for tekak saya kering lah pula. Boleh tak? Sekejap, saya lari
Boleh,
jap.
madam. Sure.
Boleh, madam.
Ada orang masuk ke? Okay, sekejap Sekejap je, saya teguk air jap. Okay. So okay, we continue on OOP terminology. So okay. Terminologies or terms. Whenever you write OOP code, there are some terms that you need to have in mind, you need to familiar with. The first term is what we call as class. The most important term is a class. A class is template or blueprint from which objects are actually made. Okay, it's a basic concept of object OOP, which revolve around the living or non-living entities. So inside your code, all code that you write in Java is inside the class. It's same as this one. Nak pergi ke slide sebelumnya. Okay. Okay. So all the codes over here, okay, all of this statement are kept inside the class. Okay. Okay. Numbers ni as an object of non-living things. Okay, similar of this one. Okay, we have this statement. And then we have this statement inside this class. Okay, wherever you write Java code, you must start with class followed by the name of the object. Okay, class. Okay. So in the previous example, they want to translate this. So there will be 3 classes. The first class is customer. Inside the customer, we have some of the statements. Then second class will be class money. Inside it, we have some statements, and then we have class account. Okay. Okay, so the standard Java library supplies several thousand classes. Okay. So if you notice over here at the first line, okay, yang line first ni, we have something like import include studio. Okay, something like include studio, but we write in different way. In C, we use in Word the keyword of include. Okay, but in Java, the same meaning, the same term is called import. Okay. Okay, so just now I said about the standard Java library supplies several thousand classes. So JDK that you downloaded yesterday, okay, it complies all the classes, okay, all the predefined classes, okay. Dah ada dah dalam JDK tu, okay, yang you download, okay, predefined classes. When you download, similar like if you download the dev C, you download with the predefined files, libraries. Okay, maknanya bila awak download studio.h ni, dia dah ada dah. Similar if you download JDK, Java Development Kit, it will download along with the libraries or what we call as classes, predefined class yang memang dah ada, yang di develop oleh developer daripada dalam oracle.com. Okay, bila you download dia nampak oracle.com kan, ada program oleh oracle.com. Sesatunya in this example scanner tu ya, java.util.scanner, dia dah, you just use it. Okay, you just use it. Okay, you can create your own classes in Java to describe the objects of the problem domain of your application and to adapt the classes that are supplied by the standard library to your own purpose. Okay, jadi kat sini kita ada dua. To adapt the classes that are supplied by standard library. Okay, like this one you just adapt. Okay, already have for your own purpose. You can also create your own class. Okay, ni create your own class. Maksudnya boleh create kita punya, okay, ada, okay, boleh guna kelas kita sendiri. Okay, untuk, okay, there are two ways. First, you use the predefined classes in the library that you download with the JDK for your own purpose, and the second one, your own class for your own purpose lah. Okay, untuk others use your class. Okay, so contohnya ada dua kelas lah. Okay, the class numbers, this is main lah. Okay. Sekejap saya ada meeting pukul 10. Sekejap. Sekejap saya balas message je. Okay, sorry. Exercise 1. Define the classes based on the scenario given below. A student rides his bicycle from his home to the faculty using the same road every day. What are the classes that you can extract from this statement? What are the classes? Remember what I said earlier, classes can be an object or for living or non-living. So are the living and non-living things from this statement. Okay. Student, bicycle lagi. Okay, home, fakulti, apa lagi? Apa? Okay. And road. The living and non-living. Let's say you want to translate this into Java. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 classes. Okay. Class faculty, class student, class bicycle, class home, class faculty and class road. Okay. Very simple. Okay. Okay. Second terms, objects. Classes can be used to instantiate as many objects as are needed. Meaning have multiple examples, multiple nanti saya bagi contoh. Okay. Each object that is created from class is called an instance of the class. A program is simply a collection of objects that interact with each other to accomplish a goal. Okay, so okay, we'll just go through with this example. Let's say inside your program you have a class named car. Okay, class car. Okay, the car class, okay, defines the attributes and methods that will exist in all objects that are an instances of the vehicle class. So a class can have many objects. One class is an instance of the car. For example, Proton is an instance of a car. Okay, Proton we call it as object. So do with the Audi. Audi is example of the instance of the car. Audi we refer it as a object. Okay. Okay, boleh faham tak yang ni? Kalau kalau dalam dalam student, what are the objects of the student? Okay, let's we take example for our faculty. We can have BIT students, we can have BIM student, that are the instances of student. Itu contoh object of the student. Okay, just now we create class student, so instances dia apa? BIM, BIT, BIP, BIS kan? Okay, and then for so these instances are called as objects. Objects. Okay. Okay, similar like bicycle car tadi. Bicycles. At faculty we have FSKTM, FCUP, we have FKMP. That's instances of faculty or objects for faculty. Okay, so in a simple explanation of object is a example of instances of that particular class. Okay. Okay, exercise 2, define the objects of banks in Malaysia. Apa instances dekat bank? Cuba bagi tahu instances dekat bank.
Bank.
Maybank. Rakyat.
Bank rakyat, bank Islam, public bank dan sebagainya kan. Itu instances, okay? Itu objek. Okay, objek bagi bank. Okay, seterusnya attributes and methods. Okay, just now we learn about class, we learn about objects. Now we go into attributes and methods. What are the attribute and methods? Okay, the properties of an object is represented by data fields, or we call it as attributes with their current values. A circle object, for example, has a data field radius just now. Okay, the example I give you just now, a circle. Okay, we have the attribute which is radius, which is the property that characterize a circle. A rectangle object has the data fields width and height, okay, which are the properties that characterize a rectangle. So attributes actually properties of an object. The simple explanation that I can give you lah. Okay. Attributes, properties, ciri-ciri, characteristic of an object. Okay. Then the second one, method, the behavior of an object, also known as its function, is is defined by methods, or sometimes we call it as functions. Okay, methods, functions, procedures are referring to the same. Okay, to invoke a method on an object is to ask the object to perform an action. Okay, for example, you may define methods name get area, get perimeter for circle object. Okay, a circle object may invoke get area, okay, to return its area, and get perimeter to return its perimeter. You may also define the set radius, you also define the set radius method. Okay. I think we have the example here. Let's say we have a car class. Okay. So just now I explained about attributes. So attribute is actually the characteristic of that class. Okay. Characteristic dia apa? For class car, characteristic of the car, it should have door, seat, it must have type of it, and then it must have the model name. Okay, so all of these define what are the attribute is kan. So when it translate it into code, all of these should be variable attributes. can be it should be variable. Okay, methods pula is actually the behavior. Okay, like just now the behavior of object is a methods. So what car can do? It can drive. Okay, then it can stop, it can perform lock and unlock function of the door. Okay, and also it can do plenty of things. Modern car now can do and many things. Okay, we can play music. Okay, we can apa lagi? Nowadays modern cars can has its own what we call hash apa unit dia, HU unit. Okay, I think we have plenty of functions. Okay, that is the that's all the to resemble the method, the behavior of a car. When we translate this behavior into a Java code, it must have something like function. Okay, let's say we have class car over here. Okay, then we create object or an instance. Okay, class car, we name it as my car. Okay, object of car is my car. Then we can set all the attributes here of car. Okay, for example, my car has 2 doors, my car has 5 seats, my car is auto, and my car is the model of my car is BMW. Okay, and then for the method, it's still the same. It's just whenever we call this function, it will invoke the function. When let's say we call the drive function, it will drive the car. If we call the stop function, it will stop the car. Same as lock and unlock. Okay. Okay. Faham tak attributes dengan method ni? Okay. So far boleh faham attributes and methods?
Boleh.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Let's exercise 3 pula. Okay, define the attributes and methods of mobile phone. Okay, apa attribute and methods of mobile phone?
Have a screen.
Brand, kan? Price,
Memory.
memory, storage, processor dia. Apa lagi? LCD,
Camera.
kamera, canggih tak canggih, kan? And the list goes on lah. Okay. Okay, method itu attributes. Okay, method apa dia boleh buat? Call function, message function, lock unlock pun boleh, ambil gambar. Okay, and the list goes on lah. Okay, so dapat the attributes and what are the attributes, ciri-ciri, attribute, ciri-ciri, karakteristik. Okay. Dan handphone tadi dia ada display, dia ada speakers, dia ada battery type, okay, dan sebagainya. And methods ialah behavior dia atau apa yang dia boleh buat. Okay, handphone boleh buat apa? Boleh call, boleh hantar message, boleh ambil gambar dan sebagainya. Okay, kat situ nanti kita akan translate into coding. Okay, bila kita translate the attributes ni, kebanyakannya kita akan jadi variable kita lah. Okay, yang attributes ni, variable dia. Okay. Contohnya dekat sini lah, yang mana tadi contoh coding. Dia akan kat atas ni lah. Okay. Macam handphone tadi, attributes dia Tadi attribute untuk handphone, LCD display kita boleh guna. Kat sini kita guna int untuk represent number. Kalau kita nak represent jenis display sama ada LCD atau OLED, kita boleh guna string. Okay. Kat Java tadi kita try Okay, kita tukar kelas kelas mobile. Then okay, mobile phone, then kita boleh declare dia punya attribute as attribute. Kalau kita display, kita boleh buat display tadi private string display type kan, attribute display type. Then battery, katakan kita guna 5000 milliamp, it should be represented as a number, right? So dia jadi double battery tadi, battery battery capacity. Why I add private key here, later on you will learn. Okay. Okay, lagi apa tadi? Brand. Okay, brand kita nak guna apa? Brand kita nak guna apa? Integer ke string?
String.
String. Tulis. Brand. Nanti kita nak translate into function. Bila function kita akan guna public. Why nanti kita akan belajar. Okay, public make kita nak method tadi kita make call. Okay, buat macam ni kita public void make call, then kita buat lagi public send message. Apa kat depan ni? Kita guna string. Okay, sebab apa? Sebab selalunya message kita guna string kan. Okay. So ni adalah contoh bila kita translate into coding. Okay, boleh buat make call, boleh buat send message. This one. Mana tadi? Okay, this one right. Okay, move on to the abstraction. Okay, so abstraction aims to hide the complexity from the users and show them the relevant information. For example, if you want to drive a car, you need to know about its internal working. The same is true Java Kasar. You can hide internal implementation details by using abstract classes or interfaces. Okay, this one we'll cover later on. You will learn this. Okay, on the abstract level, you only need to define the method signatures, name, and which is the name and parameter list, and let each implement them in their own way. The main objective of OOP is to provide abstraction, which is it hide what on the internal working. It hide how it works. All you need to focus how to use it. Okay, like a car, right? You need to focus you need to learn and how to focus, how to drive a car. You don't need to focus on how the engine works. Okay, so similar to Java. Kita bawa car je, kita tak perlu, sebenarnya kita tak perlu tahu lah macam mana dia running, jadikan car tu jalan. Okay. Okay, so sometimes you need to predefine class. Okay, so for example, you need to know which class you need to use. Okay, in this example, I know what is the output of my program. Okay, so on that way, I need to think which of the predefined class I need to choose, which predefined class I need to pick to include inside my code. Okay, however, I don't need to know whatever that is inside this scanner. This scanner is predefined class written from the developers. I don't need to know what are the statement, the content of the scanner. What I need to know is scanner class used for what? How to use this scanner class? How we can call this scanner class? That is the thing that I need to focus on, instead of having to know what are the operation inside this scanner class. This is what I meant for the abstraction. Maksudnya kita nak hide the complexity of the program. Kita hanya fokus on cara nak guna instead of macam mana nak tahu the process di belakangnya. That is we call as abstraction. Okay, move on to encapsulation. Encapsulation is a key concept working with object. It combines data or attribute and procedures in one package and hiding the implementation of the data from the user of the object. Ini saya dah explain lah sebelum ni. In OOP, most of the time we combine the attributes and method together. That we call as encapsulation. In terms of combining variables and procedures or functions or method, we call it as encapsulation. Okay, this is just a term, no need to worry. Okay, the key to making encapsulation work is to have methods that can never directly access attributes in a class other than their own. Okay, yang ni penting. Okay, saya bagi contoh yang coding ni tadi. Sekejap Nama tu dia kekal. Saya nak padam yang conteng-conteng. Tak boleh padam lah. Itu boleh. Okay, ada sebab I put private. As the name suggests, private. Private maksudnya terlindung, privacy. Private ni bermaksud dia akan hide, it can hide variable number 1 and number 2 from outside of numbers.java ni. Okay, listen this carefully. I hope you understand. Number 1 and number 2 adalah variables. Variables ni adalah inside numbers.java file. Okay, and then the prefix of sebelum int number ni, the prefix is private. Okay, this one also I put private. Why I put private? Because I don't want other code, other programs can have directly access to number 1 and number 2. If you look closely over here, there is no single statement number 1 and number 2. Okay, tak ada pun kan. Saya tak panggil number 1 Tak ada kan. Main.java is another file. So saya tak ada panggil pun number 1, number 2 here. It's a separate file kan. But I cannot access number 1 and number 2. That is the reason of the useness of private. So I can set number 1 and number 2 through a function here. Okay, so for number 1, number 2, I set number 1, number 2 through set number 1. Okay, while number 2, I set for set function set number 2. There is a reason why I put this, why I create this, why I perform this methodology, which means hiding variables from being accessed by outside of the program. So in order to set this variable, I set it through intermediate function perantaraan, which is set number 1. Okay, so set number 1 here. Set number 1 dengan nombor yang di key in oleh user. Okay, so program ni ask you to key in nombor 1. Okay, nombor 1 ni akan diberikan nilai sama dengan apa yang user key in dekat atas ni. Sama juga untuk nombor 2 kat sini. Then I call okay, but you will learn this further. No need to worry. It's just example that I want to show to you. As long as you have understand the basic concept first. Okay. That one is the encapsulation. Okay. Program should interact with object attributes only through the object methods. Apa yang tadi, attribute tadi hanya boleh diakses, hanya boleh dimanipulate through the object methods, through the objects method. Macam case tadi, hanya method yang ada ni sahaja yang boleh guna. Kalau main.java nak guna, dia kena melalui this function. Set number 1, set number 2. Kalau program lain nak guna, file lain nak guna, dia tak boleh directly guna. Okay. Itu konsep dalam OOP. Okay. Dia kena guna function ni. Okay. Okay. Salah sebab kenapa kita nak access kenapa kita tak nak main.java manipulate apa-apa value yang kita buat kat sini, ataupun kita panggil secara backdoor lah. Dalam IT, dalam computer science especially dalam dunia website, dunia hacking, kita ada some way that we call as backdoor. Okay, meaning that we are not using appropriate medium to manipulate the data. Sebagai contoh, kalau apa-apa sistem, let's say we have subject registration system, SMAP online, we have that, the interface, which is the front door for you to enter the subjects. Okay, for you enter all the subject details, what are the subject that you want to take for this semester. If you know more about the hacking, you can include that subject using backdoor. Okay, which mean you skip the interface, you skip the front door, you just go to the database and then you change the value. Okay, so the concept is similar to that. Why we put private? Because we don't want to any other program outside of the numbers of Java, outside this file to manipulate these variables easily. Okay, it need to use what we can say as this one is we need to have front door lah. Okay, if we set number 1 and number 2 set get addition. This is the main reason lah. Okay, saya cuba terangkan dengan mudah lah supaya you faham lah. Untuk front door dan back door, kenapa saya letak private. Encapsulation kan tadi. Okay. So apa-apa manipulation interaction kepada attributes dia kena melalui jalan method, jalan depan. Okay, tak boleh lalu jalan belakang. Okay, by encapsulating object attributes, you maximize reusability, reduce data dependency and minimize debugging time. Okay. Data hiding makes class attribute inaccessible from outside, and by providing getting and or setter methods, okay, method for attributes, okay, that shall be readable attribute by other classes. Josh. So the method can be divided by two, either is a getter method or setter method. We will learn this further in next class. Data hiding is important for several reasons. It protects of the attributes or the data from accidental corruption. Okay, sama macam tadi saya terangkan, accidental corruption. It's not always accidental. Kadang-kadang ada intentionally. Okay. It hides the detail of how an object works, so the programmer can concentrate on using it. Okay. Sama macam tadi saya dah terangkan, kita hanya perlu tahu macam mana nak guna dan macam mana nak panggil objek tu ataupun kelas tu. It allows the maintainer of the object to have the ability to modify the internal functioning of the object without breaking someone else's code. Okay, maksudnya kita tak perlu go deeper into that code, because apa yang kita dapat view all that has been publicly accessed by the coder or the programmer is only the one that is allowed, is already publicly available. Those statements privately set up do not visible to others. It will not. It will eliminate lah someone to break the code. Okay. Okay. This is what we call as UML diagram. Awak dah belajar belum UML diagram, Unified Modeling Language? UML. Dah belajar belum?
Belum.
Belum.
Dah kan UML? Kan? Sebelum ni dekat Software Engineering Subject, SE.
Tak ada.
Itu. Software Engineering?
Kami bukan software engineering.
UML lah, ada.
Tak. Software engineering.
Betul tak?
Kami bukan dari sana.
Kami multimedia.
Oh, multimedia tak ambil software engineering ke?
Tak.
Tak. Dekat SEM 1 kan?
Ada.
Okay, tak apa. Tak apa, dah mudah je ni. Okay, mudah je. Okay, so this is design lah. Let's say we have a class diagram. Okay, we separate into two rows, two part. The first part where you list out all the attributes, okay, name and top speed, and then the second part where you write all the method, the function or procedures. You start with the name and the variable, okay. The variable and the type, data type of the variable kan. When we translate into the coding, we type it as string name kan. Kalau dekat dalam UML, kita tukarlah pula name first, baru the name of the variable first, then followed by the type of the variable, type string. Okay. For the functions, similar. Okay, if your function doesn't return any value, you put void, kan? If you function return value, you can put string, double. If you function if you function receive parameters, just put the parameters here. I think without the name of the parameters, just include type of the parameters. Just include the type of the parameters. So most of the time, the attribute must be private. Most of the time, meaning that it cannot access directly from classes outside the car. Susahnya tulis. The only members of that can be accessed or manipulate the attributes ni method ni yang boleh guna. Okay. You need to implement this kind of concept whenever you write the Java programming. Okay. Okay, or other OOP languages. Okay, you need to practice this kind of methodology. Put all the variable as private and then put all the method as public. So all the methods can be accessed by the classes outside the car classes. Another term is inheritance. Okay, this one also you will learn further as we go chapters. Inheritance is the ability of one class to extend the capabilities of another. It allows code defined in one class to be reused in other class. Let's reuse. For example, we have a class named car. A car is specialized form of a vehicle class. So it is said that the vehicle class is the base. Okay. Okay, specialized. Let's say we have a car class. Okay. Okay, on top of the car class, we have the parent class. We have vehicle. It's a base parent of a car class. Atas lah. So a car class is derived from the parent class vehicle. Ni car consider child lah. Okay. So whatever attribute or functions inside this vehicle can be inheritance. Boleh diwarisi oleh car. Maksudnya kat sini we have car class. Car ni child. Okay. Vehicle is parent. So car will inherit whatever attributes, whatever function dalam kelas vehicle. Kita ada direct access of variables and we attributes and functions dalam car ni. Dalam vehicle. Car boleh sebab apa? Sebab dia inherit. Kalau dia tak inherit, dia tak boleh access. Macam tadi saya cakap kita letak private sebab kita tak nak dia access. Okay, tapi in the case of when we declare it as a child of that class, we can use it okay, and we can manipulate it same as the function apart from get engine size and get number doors. We also can get ni function daripada parent dia lah kat atas. Another one is pickup. Pickup also inherit whatever that vehicle have. Okay. So sebab ni adalah child class of the vehicle. Okay. Polymorphism. Okay, it means many forms. A reference variable is always a single unchangeable type, but it can refer to a subtype object. A single object can be referred to reference variable of many different types as long as they are the same type or a super type of object. Mesti awak tak faham yang ni, tak apa, kita bagi contoh. Okay. Tadi kita dah belajar, we have learned the inheritance, pewarisan, inheritance which we have base class or parent class, then we have child class or derived class. Okay. So we have parent, okay, and we have child class. Dalam tadi inheritance so apa yang ada dalam base, whatever that inside the parent kita boleh gunakan. We can use whatever attributes and function inside in shape. Okay. Let's say we have a function area in shape, in class shape. We can also have the same function with the same name. Kita boleh ada juga function dengan nama yang sama, area juga, dalam circle, dalam triangle, dalam rectangle. So dalam OOP, dalam in OOP dibenarkan lah, okay? Dibenarkan guna nama yang sama, okay? Untuk function. However, there is a different area for circle should have different equation as compared to triangle and as compared in rectangle. It has same name but there is we call polymorphism. So dia yang ni lah, polymorphism means many forms. Dia nama yang sama, same name, semua area but in different forms. Form kat sini maksudnya different operations. In this case is a different equation kan, equation yang berlainan. Area of circle could be different as compared to area of triangle and area of rectangle. Okay, boleh faham tak dia many forms ni? Function dia guna nama sama tapi kita override dia punya isi dalam dia. Okay, dia punya equation. Okay. Nanti kita dah nak habis ni kejap lagi. You please remind me about the attendance for those who haven't signed the attendance. Last slide, advantages of OOP, reusability. Reusability can be obtained by reusable software modules or components, can be achieved by using concepts of OOP. Okay, maksudnya dalam get addition ni tadi, okay, saya create another program dalam another file, kita boleh guna get addition. Okay. Then extensibility. Okay. Instead of adding application, OOP allows adding of small modules that work together to replace the notion of isolated applications. Okay, maknanya kat sini kalau okay, let's say I want to numbers tadi tu maksudnya Okay, as of now we have addition method kan. Okay, let's say I want to extend it to perform subtraction, to perform division. I just put below this. After the get addition, then I can add subtraction method. Okay, it allows extensibility and then you can reuse later on. Okay. And then maintainability, maintaining the software or system will become easier and cheaper. Software or system is built with smaller and many applications. Okay. Why I said your software become smaller because it support usability. Katakan kalau awak nak coding, kod yang baru, awak tak perlu nak write the whole code. Ada problem sebab dah ada orang yang buat coding tu. So macam saya dah create numbers of Java ni, awak boleh guna apa-apa saja dalam numbers of Java. So coding awak akan jadi simple and smaller. So less of code. Okay. Sama juga konsep, saya bagi contoh. Saya bagi contoh dalam laptop awak ada Google Maps kan. Okay. Kat dalam Google Maps kita boleh embed kat dalam website kan. I nak check Maps platform. Platform. Okay. So dalam Google Maps ni kita boleh dalam website ni developer dalam website ni dia tak perlu nak write the code kan dalam code untuk maps from scratch. Instead you just use Google Maps, Google Maps API. Okay, meaning that all the so kita guna predefined classes lah or predefined libraries for the web developers in order embed dalam apps software dia semua untuk create a new website, a new system, new apps. Their code will be less lines and they will be smaller in terms of size, and then the complexity can be reduced. Why? Because they just use others function. Orang punya function kita guna panggil from the Google. That is the concept lah. Okay. So inilah yang tadi. Okay. Ni dah habis dah. Okay, so itu sahajalah kelas kita pada hari ini. Slide saya akan letak sekejap lagi dalam learning material nanti. Ni, sekejap lagi ya. Please access, boleh open dan go through. Okay, how about the attendance? I think just now I tick all, but semua orang all of you attended my class, our first class? Yes?
Yes, Doctor.
Okay, so any other further question for our first class? I hope.
Madam, saya nak tanya, Java dengan JavaScript ni lain ke?
lain sikit lah, lain sikit. Java ni dan JavaScript lain sikit. Tapi if you have understanding in this Java, you can so write ni JavaScript tu lah.
Okay, madam.
So dalam lab dah follow Madam Suryawati punya instruction
Dah, madam.